The morning sun cast long shadows across the rocky surface of Kepler 442b as Captain Jake Morrison adjusted his helmet scanner and checked the mineral readings one more time. The planet looked dead from orbit, but the deep scans showed rich deposits of rare Earth elements that Earth desperately needed for their expanding fleet. Jake had been exploring planets like this one for 5 years now, and he knew how to read the signs of a good mining operation. "Lisa, what's your reading on the atmospheric levels down in that canyon?" Jake called to his medic through the comm system. Lisa Carter had been with his team for 3 years, and she was the best field medic in the Outer Rim territories. She could patch up anything from a broken bone to a plasma burn using whatever supplies they had on hand. "Air quality is good, Captain. But I'm picking up some strange energy signatures about 2 kilometers northeast of our position," Lisa replied while checking her scanner. "Could be natural mineral formations, or maybe something else entirely." Tony Blake looked up from the mining equipment he was setting up and wiped sweat from his forehead. As the team's engineer, he was responsible for all the technical gear, and he had a gift for making broken things work again. "I'm getting those same readings on my equipment scanner, Jake. Whatever it is down there, it's definitely not natural rock formations." Kate Murphy was busy establishing a communication link with their ship in orbit when she heard the conversation. She was their communications specialist, and she had the important job of keeping them connected to Earth Command and their supply ships. "Captain, I think we should investigate those readings before we start any mining operations. Protocol says we need to clear the area of any potential hazards first." Jake nodded and gathered his team together. They had worked on dozens of planets together, and they trusted each other completely. "All right, team, let's pack up the mining gear and head down to investigate. Keep your weapons ready and stay alert. We don't know what we might find down there." The team made their way down the rocky slope toward the canyon where the energy readings were strongest. The planet's gravity was slightly less than Earth normal, which made walking easier, but the thin atmosphere meant they had to keep their breathing equipment on at all times. Jake led the way with his rifle ready while the others followed in formation. Behind him, as they got closer to the canyon floor, they could see pieces of metal scattered across the rocks. The metal was a strange blue-green color that none of them had ever seen before, and it seemed to shimmer in the sunlight. Tony knelt down to examine one of the larger pieces, and his scanner immediately started beeping rapidly. "This is definitely not human technology," Tony said while running his scanner over the metal fragment. "The molecular structure is completely different from anything we've seen before. This looks like it could be from an alien ship or maybe some kind of advanced probe." Lisa was examining another piece of debris when she noticed something moving behind a large rock formation. "Captain, I think I see something over there behind those rocks. It looks like it might be alive." Jake raised his rifle and moved carefully toward the rocks with his team following close behind. As they got closer, they could hear a faint sound that might have been breathing or maybe some kind of mechanical noise. Jake signaled for his team to spread out and approach from different angles when they finally got close enough to see behind the rocks. They found something that none of them had expected. There was a creature lying on the ground among the debris, and it was clearly badly injured. The creature was about the size of a human, but its skin was a pale blue color, and it had long, thin limbs that looked almost fragile. Its breathing was shallow and rapid, and there was a strange blue liquid that might have been blood pooling around its body. "My God," Lisa whispered as she knelt down beside the injured creature. "This is definitely an alien life form, and it's in very bad shape. Look at these injuries, Captain. Multiple fractures, internal bleeding, and what looks like severe dehydration." Jake kept his rifle ready, but he could see that the creature was no threat to them in its current condition. "Can you help it, Lisa? Is there anything we can do?" Lisa was already opening her medical kit and scanning the creature with her bioscanner. "I don't know, Captain. This is completely outside anything I've ever dealt with before. The creature's physiology is so different from humans that I'm not sure if our medical supplies will even work." Tony was examining the wreckage around them, and his expression was grim. "Captain, I think this creature was left here on purpose. Look at the way the debris is scattered. This looks like someone crashed here and then took what they needed and left. They just abandoned this poor thing to die. Kate was monitoring their communications equipment to make sure they weren't being watched. Captain, I'm not picking up any other life signs in the area. If there were other aliens here, they're long gone now. Jake looked down at the injured creature and made a decision that would change everything. Lisa, do whatever you can to help it. I don't care if it's alien or human. We can't just leave a wounded creature here to die. That's not what humans do. Lisa nodded and began working on the creature's injuries. She used her bioscanner to try to understand its internal structure, and then began applying bandages and emergency medical supplies. The creature's eyes opened briefly, and it looked at Lisa with what might have been gratitude or fear. Tony, I need you to set up a shelter over here to protect our patient from the elements, Jake ordered. Kate, establish a secure perimeter and monitor all communication channels. We're going to help this creature whether its people want us to or not. The team worked quickly to set up a makeshift medical station around the injured alien. Lisa used every piece of medical equipment. She had to stabilize the creature's condition while Tony rigged up a shelter using salvaged materials from the wreckage. Kate monitored their communications and made sure they weren't being tracked or followed. As the day wore on, the creature's condition seemed to improve slightly. Its breathing became more regular, and the blue liquid had stopped flowing from its wounds. Lisa had managed to set some of the broken bones, and the creature seemed to be responding to the human medical treatment. Captain, I think it's going to survive, Lisa said while checking the creature's vital signs. Its physiology is strange, but not completely incompatible with our medical techniques. I think we might actually be able to save it. Jake looked at his team and saw the determination in their eyes. They were going to help this creature no matter what it cost them. That was the human way, and they were proud to be human. 3 days had passed since Jake and his team found the injured alien creature in the canyon. Lisa had been working around the clock to keep the creature stable, and her efforts were finally showing results. The blue liquid that had been flowing from the creature's wounds had stopped completely, and its breathing was much stronger than before. Captain, I think our patient is starting to wake up, Lisa called out as she noticed the creature's eyes beginning to flutter open. Its vital signs are stabilizing, and it seems to be responding to external stimuli. Jake approached the makeshift medical station that Tony had built using materials from the alien wreckage. The shelter was crude but effective, and it had protected their patient from the harsh winds that swept across the planet's surface every evening. The creature's large, dark eyes opened slowly and focused on Jake's face with what seemed like curiosity rather than fear. Easy there, Jake said softly while keeping his hands visible and non-threatening. We're here to help you. You're safe now. The creature tried to speak but only managed to make soft clicking sounds that didn't sound like any language the humans had ever heard. Tony had been working on a small device he found in the wreckage that looked like it might be some kind of translator or communication device. He had managed to get it partially working using parts from their own equipment. Jake, I think this device might be able to help us communicate with her, Tony said while connecting the alien device to their computer system. It's some kind of universal translator, but it's badly damaged. I've been trying to repair it using our spare parts. Kate was monitoring their communication systems to make sure they weren't being detected by any passing ships. She had been rotating guard duty with the others to ensure their patient was protected at all times. Captain, we're still clear on all channels. No sign of any ships or alien activity in this sector. Lisa was checking the creature's injuries again, and she was amazed by how quickly it was healing. Captain, I've never seen anything like this before. This creature's cellular regeneration rate is incredible. The fractures I set 3 days ago are already showing signs of advanced healing. The creature managed to sit up slightly and pointed at the translator device that Tony was working on. It made more clicking sounds and seemed to be trying to communicate something important. Jake noticed that the creature's movements were becoming more coordinated, and its eyes were much clearer than before. I think it wants us to activate the translator, Jake said while helping the creature adjust its position. Tony, see if you can get that device working. I think our patient has something to tell us. Tony connected the final circuit, and the device began to emit a soft humming sound. The creature's eyes widened and it began to speak in its clicking language. After a few moments, the device began to produce words in English that were somewhat broken but understandable. "Thank you for helping this one," the translated voice said through the device. This one was left behind by the collective because this one was damaged and could not contribute to the survival of the group. Lisa felt a surge of anger at the thought of anyone abandoning an injured person. "Your people just left you here to die? That's horrible. No one deserves to be abandoned when they're hurt." The creature looked confused by Lisa's emotional response. This one does not understand. Resources are limited and the collective must survive. Damaged individuals consume resources without contributing to the group's success. This is the way of the Zephyrian people? Jake sat down beside the creature and tried to explain the human perspective. Among humans, we believe that every individual life has value. We don't abandon our injured or sick. We take care of each other because that's what makes us strong as a group. The creature whose name they learned was Zara seemed genuinely puzzled by this concept. But this one cannot hunt or build or contribute to the group's survival. Why would you waste valuable resources on a defective individual? Kate joined the conversation and tried to help Zara understand human values. Because you're not defective. You're a living being with thoughts and feelings. That makes you valuable regardless of what you can or cannot do. Over the following days, Jake and his team took turns spending time with Zara and helping her understand human concepts like compassion and individual worth. Lisa continued to treat her injuries using techniques that seemed to work surprisingly well on Zephyrian physiology. Tony showed her how human technology worked and was amazed by her quick understanding of complex engineering principles. Kate taught Zara simple human games and played music for her using their portable entertainment system. Zara seemed fascinated by human music and especially enjoyed the emotional songs that Kate shared with her. The concept of creating art for pure enjoyment rather than practical purposes was completely foreign to Zephyrian culture. Your people create sounds and images for no functional purpose, Zara observed while listening to a piece of classical music. Yet these sounds produce emotional responses in humans. This one does not understand the benefit of such activities. Kate smiled and tried to explain the importance of art and music in human culture. Not everything has to have a practical purpose, Zara. Sometimes we do things simply because they make us happy or because they help us express our feelings. Lisa made a breakthrough discovery when she noticed that filtered human blood plasma seemed to accelerate Zara's healing process dramatically. "Captain, this is incredible. Zara's injuries are healing at twice the normal rate when I supplement her treatment with modified human plasma. There's some kind of compatibility between our species that no one has ever documented before." Jake watched as his team members each found ways to connect with Zara despite the vast differences between their species. Tony was teaching her basic human engineering principles while Kate was helping her understand human social structures and relationships. Lisa was learning about Zephyrian physiology while sharing human medical knowledge with their patient. "Zara, tell us more about your people," Jake asked during one of their evening conversations. "What are they like and where do they come from?" Zara explained that the Zephyrians were a highly logical species that valued efficiency and survival. Above all else, they lived in large collective groups where individual needs were always secondary to the needs of the group. Emotions were considered a weakness that interfered with logical decision-making. "The collective decides all things based on what is most beneficial for survival," Zara explained. "Individual desires and feelings are irrelevant if they conflict with group needs." This one has never experienced the concepts you call friendship or personal loyalty. As the days passed, Jake noticed that Zara was beginning to change in subtle ways. She started to show concern for the team members when they were tired or injured. She would share her food rations with them and seemed genuinely interested in their well-being as individuals rather than just as members of a group. "Captain, I think Zara is learning to care about us as individuals," Lisa observed during one of their private conversations. "She's developing emotional connections that her people apparently don't normally experience." Jake nodded as he watched Zara help Tony repair a piece of equipment that had been damaged during a dust storm. She's becoming more human in some ways. Maybe that's what real friendship does to people regardless of what species they come from. The morning of the 21st day started like any other until Kate's communication equipment began beeping with urgent warning signals. She had been monitoring the long-range sensors during her watch when multiple contacts appeared on the edge of the system. The signatures were unmistakably alien, and they were heading directly toward their planet. "Captain, we have a problem," Kate called out as she ran toward the shelter where Jake was checking on Zara's recovery progress. "I'm detecting at least 6 alien ships entering the system, and they're moving fast in our direction." Jake immediately went to the scanner display and studied the incoming signals. The ships were using technology that matched the debris patterns they had found around Zara's crash site. There was no doubt that these were Zephyrian vessels, and they were coming to investigate what had happened to their missing crew member. "Zara, we need to know what your people will do when they find us here with you," Jake said while helping her sit up so she could see the scanner readings. "Are they coming to rescue you, or are they here for something else?" Zara looked at the display, and her expression became very serious. "The Collective does not rescue damaged individuals, Captain Morrison. They are here to recover the technology from the crashed vessel and to eliminate any witnesses who might have seen it." Lisa felt a chill run through her body as she understood what Zara was saying. "You mean they're going to kill us just for helping you? That's insane. The Collective cannot allow primitive species to examine advanced Zephyrian technology," Zara explained while using the translator device. "It is standard procedure to remove all evidence of contact with less developed civilizations. This one is sorry, but your lives are now in danger because you chose to help this one." Tony was already moving toward their equipment storage area to gather weapons and defensive supplies. "Captain, we need to make a decision right now. Do we try to hide from these ships, or do we stand and fight?" Jake looked at his team and then at Zara, who was struggling to stand despite her injuries. "We're not abandoning Zara to her own people who left her here to die. If they want to hurt her, they'll have to go through us first." Kate was tracking the incoming ships on her scanner and calculating their approach time. "Captain, the lead ship will be in orbit in approximately 4 hours. The other vessels are spread out in a search pattern covering the entire system. Zara, tell us everything you know about Zephyrian military tactics and ship capabilities," Jake ordered while checking his rifle and ammunition supplies. "We need to know what we're up against if we're going to protect you." Zara was amazed that the humans were willing to risk their lives to protect her. In Zephyrian culture, such behavior would be considered irrational and wasteful. "Captain Morrison, the Zephyrian military uses logic-based attack patterns. They will establish orbital superiority and then deploy ground forces to secure the crash site." Lisa was gathering medical supplies and preparing to treat potential injuries. "How many soldiers will they send down to the surface?" "The standard recovery team consists of 12 warriors armed with plasma weapons and personal shields," Zara replied. "They will also bring scanning equipment to locate any survivors and technology that needs to be recovered." Tony was examining the alien technology they had salvaged from the crash site. "Captain, some of this equipment is still functional. If I can figure out how to use it, we might be able to level the playing field a little." Jake was formulating a defensive plan based on the terrain around their shelter. "We have the advantage of knowing the ground, and we can use the canyon walls for cover." Tony work on getting that alien equipment operational. Kate establish communication with any human ships that might be in the area. "Captain, I'm trying to reach the patrol ship Ranger that was scheduled to pass through this sector next week," Kate reported while adjusting her communication array. "If I can get a message through, they might be able to provide support." Zara was struggling to understand why the humans were taking such risks to protect her. "Captain Morrison, this one does not understand why you would endanger your team to defend a damaged individual. The logical choice would be to surrender this one to the Collective and save your own lives." Jake knelt down beside Zara and spoke in a calm but firm voice. "Because that's not who we are, Zara. Humans don't abandon our friends when they're in trouble. You're part of our team now and we protect our teammates. Lisa was setting up a medical station in a protected area of the canyon. Zara, your people made a mistake when they left you behind. You're not damaged goods, you're a valuable person who deserves to live. Tony had managed to get one of the alien energy weapons working and he was studying its power output. Captain, this weapon has about 3 times the range of our rifles. And it uses some kind of plasma energy that should be effective against Zephyrian shields. Kate was monitoring communication channels when she detected the first orbital scans beginning. Captain, they're starting to scan the planet's surface. I think they've located the crash site and they know we're here. The team spent the next 2 hours preparing defensive positions using the natural rock formations in the canyon. Tony rigged explosive charges using mining equipment while Lisa prepared emergency medical supplies. Kate established a communication post that would allow them to coordinate their defense. The collective will send a reconnaissance team first, Zara explained while watching the humans prepare their defenses. They will try to assess the situation before committing their main force. Jake positioned his team in overlapping fields of fire that would allow them to support each other during the coming battle. Remember everyone, we're not trying to win a war here. We just need to hold them off long enough for help to arrive. As the sun began to set, the first Zephyrian shuttle appeared in the sky above their position. The craft was sleek and silent. As it descended toward the crash site, Jake could see armed figures moving inside the transparent sections of the shuttle's hull. Here they come, Tony whispered while adjusting the settings on his improvised plasma weapon. Everyone stay calm and wait for my signal. The shuttle landed about 300 meters from their position and 6 Zephyrian soldiers emerged wearing full combat armor. They moved with mechanical precision toward the wreckage while scanning the area with handheld devices. They're looking for survivors and technology, Zara whispered. The scan will detect this one's life signs and they will know that humans have been here. Jake watched through his scope as the alien soldiers spread out in a search pattern. Their movements were predictable and efficient, but they showed no signs of creativity or adaptability. Lisa, stay with Zara and keep her safe. Tony and Kate, you're with me. Let's show these aliens what humans can do when we're protecting our friends. The battle for Zara's life was about to begin, and Jake knew that everything depended on human courage and ingenuity defeating superior alien technology. The first Zephyrian soldier stepped into Jake's carefully prepared trap and triggered the explosive charge that Tony had rigged using mining equipment. The blast sent rocks and debris flying in all directions, and the alien warrior stumbled backward with his energy shield flickering from the impact. Jake immediately opened fire with the modified plasma weapon and watched as the alien's armor began to smoke and spark. Now, Jake shouted to his team as he rolled behind a large boulder to avoid return fire. The canyon erupted with the sound of weapons fire as the humans launched their coordinated attack against the surprised Zephyrian soldiers. Tony had positioned himself on a ledge above the crash site, where he could provide covering fire with his improvised energy weapon. The alien technology was more powerful than their human rifles, but it was also more complex and harder to aim accurately. He managed to disable 2 more soldiers before they could reach cover behind the wreckage. Kate was operating from a concealed position where she could coordinate the team's movements using their communication equipment. She had also rigged several false signals that made it appear as if there were more humans in the area than there actually were. The Zephyrian soldiers were trained to fight against logical opponents, and they were confused by the chaotic nature of human tactics. Captain, 3 more soldiers are approaching from the north side of the canyon, Kate reported while monitoring her scanner. They're moving in a standard search pattern, but they seem hesitant to advance after seeing what happened to their teammates. Lisa was staying close to Zara in the protected medical area, but she had also prepared several surprise packages for any aliens who might try to reach their position. She had filled medical containers with explosive charges and placed them along the most likely approach routes. Her knowledge of battlefield medicine had taught her exactly where to place the charges for maximum effectiveness. The collective does not understand your fighting methods, Zara observed while watching the battle through the translator device. Zephyrian warriors are trained to fight with logic and efficiency. Your chaotic approach confuses their tactical programming. Jake was moving from position to position using the terrain to stay hidden from the alien soldiers. He had learned guerrilla warfare techniques during his military training, and he was applying those lessons to fight against a technologically superior enemy. The key was to strike fast and then disappear before the enemy could respond effectively. "Tony, can you create a distraction on the east side of the canyon?" Jake called out over the communication system. "I want to draw their attention away from Lisa and Zara's position." Tony lobbed one of his improvised explosive devices toward a group of alien soldiers and watched as they scattered to avoid the blast. The explosion created a cloud of dust and debris that provided cover for Jake to move closer to the enemy position. The Zephyrian soldiers were having trouble adapting to the unpredictable human tactics. The alien commander was becoming frustrated with his team's inability to neutralize the human defenders. Commander Vex had expected to find either dead humans or easy prey, but instead he was facing determined resistance from creatures who seemed to have no regard for their own safety. The humans were using tactics that made no logical sense from a Zephyrian perspective. "All units converge on the medical shelter," Vex ordered through his communication device. "These primitive creatures are protecting something valuable in that location. We will eliminate them and recover whatever they are hiding." Kate intercepted the alien communication and immediately warned her teammates. "Captain, they're all moving toward our position. I count at least 8 soldiers heading this way." Jake realized that the aliens had figured out where Zara was hidden, and they were planning to overwhelm the human defenses with superior numbers. He needed to do something dramatic to stop them before they could reach Lisa and Zara. The canyon walls gave him an idea that was crazy enough to work. "Tony, I need you to trigger the charges we placed on the canyon wall," Jake ordered while running toward the alien formation. "Bring down those rocks right on top of their position." Tony understood immediately what Jake was planning, and he began activating the explosive charges they had placed earlier. The canyon wall trembled and then collapsed in a tremendous avalanche of rocks and debris. Several alien soldiers were caught in the rockslide, and their energy shields failed under the crushing weight of the falling stones. Lisa watched in amazement as Jake threw himself into the middle of the alien formation just as the rocks began to fall. He was using himself as bait to draw the enemies into the trap, even though it meant putting his own life at risk. She had never seen such courage and determination in her life. "Jake, get out of there," Lisa screamed as she watched him diving and rolling to avoid the falling rocks. One of the alien soldiers managed to get off a shot that hit Jake in the shoulder and sent him spinning to the ground. Zara saw Jake get hit, and something strange happened inside her mind. For the first time in her life, she felt what humans called anger, and she wanted to help the brave human who had risked everything to protect her. She struggled to her feet despite her injuries and began moving toward the battle. "Zara, where are you going?" Lisa called out as she tried to stop her patient from leaving the safety of the medical shelter. "You're still too weak to fight." "Captain, Morrison saved this one's life," Zara replied while picking up one of the alien energy weapons. "This one cannot allow him to die protecting this one. That would not be the human way." Kate was amazed to see Zara joining the battle despite her injuries. The alien female was moving with determination that reminded Kate of human soldiers protecting their wounded comrades. She was learning to fight like a human rather than thinking like a Zephyrian. Tony provided covering fire as Zara made her way toward Jake's position. The remaining alien soldiers were surprised to see one of their own kind fighting alongside the humans. Their tactical programming had no procedures for dealing with a situation like this. "The damaged one fights with the primitives," one of the soldiers reported to Commander Vex. "She has chosen to betray the collective." Vex was shocked by this information because no Zephyrian had ever voluntarily fought against their own people. "That is impossible. The damaged one must be under some kind of mind control." Zara reached Jake's position just as 2 alien soldiers were closing in on his wounded form. She fired the energy weapon with deadly accuracy and disabled both attackers. before they could harm Jake. Then she helped him to his feet and supported him as they made their way back toward the medical shelter. "Why did you risk your life to save me?" Jake asked while Zara helped him walk. "Your own people would never do such a thing." Zara looked at Jake with eyes that showed emotions her people had never taught her to feel. "Because you are this one's friend, Captain Morrison. Friends protect each other. That is what you taught this one about being human." The battle continued to rage around them, but Jake knew that something important had changed. Zara had chosen to fight for human values rather than Zephyrian logic, and that choice would change everything. The distant roar of human ship engines echoed across the canyon as Captain Susan Wright's cruiser New Horizon dropped out of hyperspace and entered the planet's atmosphere. Kate's desperate communication signals had finally reached a human patrol ship that was 3 days ahead of schedule, and the cavalry was arriving just in time to save Jake's team from being overwhelmed by superior numbers. "This is Captain Wright of the New Horizon calling any human survivors on the surface," came the voice over Kate's communication equipment. "We received your distress signal and we're moving to provide immediate support." Jake was bleeding heavily from the plasma wound in his shoulder, but he managed to grab the communication device from Kate. "Captain Wright, this is Captain Morrison. We have 4 humans and 1 friendly alien under attack by hostile Zephyrian forces. We need immediate fire support on the canyon floor." The New Horizons weapon systems locked onto the remaining Zephyrian soldiers who were still trying to reach the human position. The ship's pulse cannons fired precise bursts that disabled the alien attackers without causing too much damage to the surrounding area. Commander Vex realized that his mission had failed, and he ordered his remaining forces to retreat to their shuttle. "All units withdraw immediately," Vex commanded while watching human fighters descend from the cruiser. "The primitive species has received reinforcements and we cannot complete the mission objectives." Lisa was working frantically to stop Jake's bleeding while Tony and Kate maintained defensive positions around the medical shelter. Zara was still holding the alien energy weapon and watching for any soldiers who might try to attack during the retreat. She had fully committed to protecting her human friends regardless of what her own people might do to her. "Captain, the hostile forces are withdrawing to their landing craft," Kate reported while monitoring the alien movements. "It looks like they're going to try to escape before our reinforcements can capture them." The Zephyrian shuttle lifted off from the canyon floor and began climbing toward orbit where the main alien fleet was waiting. Commander Vex knew that he would have to explain to the collective leadership why his mission had failed and why one of their own people was fighting alongside primitive humans. Captain Wright's ship pursued the fleeing shuttle, but the alien craft managed to reach its mothership before it could be intercepted. The main Zephyrian fleet began moving away from the planet as soon as the damaged shuttle was recovered. They had failed to eliminate the witnesses and recover their technology, but they were not willing to start a war with the human military. Captain Morrison were sending down medical teams and security personnel, Captain Wright announced over the communication channel. "Hold your position and we'll have you evacuated within the hour." Jake was losing consciousness from blood loss, but he managed to speak to Zara before the medical teams arrived. "Zara, you saved my life back there. I want you to know that you'll always be welcome among humans. You've proven that friendship is more important than species." Zara knelt beside Jake and held his hand while Lisa worked to stabilize his condition. Captain Morrison taught this one what it means to be valued as an individual. This one will never forget that lesson. The human medical team arrived and immediately began treating Jake's injuries using advanced surgical techniques. Lisa worked alongside the ship's doctors and was amazed to see how quickly they were able to repair the plasma damage to Jake's shoulder. The human doctors were also fascinated by Zara's unique physiology, and they asked Lisa to share her research on cross-species medical treatment. "Dr. Martinez, this is incredible," Lisa explained while showing the ship's chief medical officer her notes on Zara's treatment. "Human blood plasma actually accelerates Zephyrian healing when it's properly filtered and modified. We could revolutionize interspecies medicine with this discovery." Tony was helping the human engineers examine the alien technology that had been scattered around the crash site. The Zephyrian equipment was far more advanced than anything humans had seen before, and studying it could lead to major breakthroughs in human technology. The fact that Zara was willing to help them understand the alien systems made the research much more valuable. Miss Zara, this energy weapon technology could change everything we know about defensive systems, Tony explained while examining the plasma rifle she had used during the battle. Would you be willing to help us understand how it works? Zara looked at the human engineers and realized that she was facing another important decision. Sharing Zephyrian technology with humans would be considered the ultimate betrayal by her people, but these humans had shown her kindness and friendship that she had never experienced before. This one will help you understand the technology, Zara said through the translator device. The collective abandoned this one, so this one owes them nothing. These humans have shown this one what true loyalty means. Kate was coordinating with Captain Wright to establish formal diplomatic contact between Earth Command and the rescued alien. Zara's decision to seek asylum with the humans would create a major diplomatic incident, but it would also provide Earth with its first real opportunity to learn about advanced alien civilizations. Captain Wright, we need to contact Earth Command immediately, Kate reported while encrypting her communication signals. This situation is going to require high-level diplomatic intervention. During the flight back to the New Horizon, Jake recovered enough to speak with Zara about her future plans. The ship's medical bay was equipped with advanced life support systems that could accommodate different alien physiologies, and Zara was receiving the best medical care available. Zara, you don't have to make any decisions right now, but I want you to know that Earth will welcome you if you choose to stay with us, Jake said, while adjusting his position in the medical bed. You've already proven that species doesn't matter when it comes to friendship and courage. Zara had been thinking about her future ever since she made the decision to fight alongside the humans. Captain Morrison, this one has learned that individual life has value regardless of physical limitations. This one wants to share that knowledge with others who might be abandoned by their own people. Lisa was documenting everything she had learned about Zephyrian medicine, and she was already making plans for future research. Zara, I think we could establish a medical facility that serves all species regardless of their cultural attitudes toward injury and illness. Would you be interested in helping with something like that? The idea of creating a place where no injured person would ever be abandoned appealed to Zara's new understanding of individual worth. This one would be honored to help create such a facility. No living being should ever be left behind because they are damaged. Captain Wright made the formal announcement to Earth Command that they had rescued a friendly alien who was requesting asylum and offering to share advanced technology. The response from Earth was immediate and positive because the potential benefits of Zephyrian knowledge were too valuable to ignore. Captain Morrison, your team has made the most important first contact in human history, Captain Wright announced. During the formal debriefing, Zara's knowledge could advance human civilization by hundreds of years. As the New Horizon headed back toward Earth, Jake realized that their simple mining mission had turned into something much more important. They had not only saved Zara's life, but they had also shown the galaxy that human values of compassion and individual worth could transcend species barriers. Zara, I think you're going to change the way the galaxy thinks about abandoned and injured people, Jake said while watching the stars through the medical bay window. You're going to help us build a place where no one is ever left behind again. Zara looked at her human friends and felt emotions that her people had never taught her existed. She had found something among the humans that was worth more than all the advanced technology in the galaxy, and she was determined to share that gift with anyone who needed it.